Good evening, or morning, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm grateful that you're here. And that list is quite extensive. I was just looking at it. Mike, Mr. Datahead, was showing me some of our stats, and we've got people literally from around the world. So, really, thank you for being here. So I want to start our talk tonight about supplements with a little something that I saw just the other day when I was in Costco. So I was in Costco, and it's an occupational hazard when you're a naturopath to look into other people's carts when you're shopping. You know, it's like, oh man, look what that person's eating, or so I found something that was a perfect introduction to our discussion this evening. I saw a maybe late 20s, early 30s couple who, by the medical definition of things, would be considered morbidly obese. And they were doing the Costco thing, right? They had this massive double whammy package of hot dogs, because I've never even seen those at Costco, but apparently we shop in different aisles. Then they had 4 different bags of Costco size chips and, potato chips and corn chips and all kinds of stuff. So this wall of bags of chips, this mountain of hot dogs, and then right behind that, this little, or comparatively little, bottle of supplements. So I don't know if we need to have this discussion, but you all know how important diet is. So how relevant would that bottle of supplements be, given the diet that lovely couple was consuming? Not very, right? So, I want to start by looking at the definition of the word supplement. And I actually looked this up for you because it's important, right? So supplement, the definition of supplement is something that completes or enhances something else. So remember, we've got diet, we've got mind-body, we've got self-care, we've got movement and exercises. Those are the things that you want to be supplementing. So the better you eat, the better you move, the more self-care you've got, the more mind-body you're engaged in, the less you have to supplement. And I just really want to emphasize that. No doubt, supplementation is essential because we live in that crazy world, right? We live in that crazy world that has driven us to a diagnosis. So don't get me wrong, supplementation at some level is going to be essential, but supplementation and supplements does not equal treating MS naturally. So let's be very clear on that. Supplements do not equal natural management of multiple sclerosis. And I think you're starting to get that, right? We're going to talk more about that throughout this, because you know me, I don't like to drop a good point, right? But have you ever, I don't know about you, when I was first diagnosed, and that was a lot of years ago, that was 1985, but in no time flat, I had a countertop full of supplements from good-meaning friends and neighbors who, this is way before the internet, of course, so they just read or heard that the supplements were good for MS. Well, we're not going to talk about anything that's good for MS today, because I want to talk about what's good for you. First, let's start taking a look at the supplement industry. Okay? So a few things some fun facts, if you will, that I want you to know about the supplement industry. First of all, it's a $1 trillion industry, right? It's largely unregulated, so there's a lot of claiming going on in that industry that has no validation. It preys on people with health conditions, so people that are newly diagnosed are afraid, want to do everything they can do, so they prey on you, and it can be an absolute sinkhole for your hard-earned money. And there's the whole FOMO thing around it, right? The fear that you're missing something because so-and-so said this was good, or I read this was good, or I was on a chat group and this random person recommended this list of supplements. So you can kind of get where I'm coming from there, right? When you are supplementing, I want you to be sure that you understand why you're taking it, and I want you to understand what you're taking. So what is the substance that you're ingesting, and why are you taking it? Okay? I want to make sure that you are consuming high quality products that are actually adding something to your body, not taking away by being toxic or low quality or not therapeutic. And yes, I want you to understand that good supplements are expensive, which is exactly why I want you to, we're going to default to what I just said, is I want you to know what you're taking, and I want to know why you're taking it. I want you to know why you're taking it, okay? So for the record, as a naturopathic doctor, supplements are one modality that I use with my patient base. In fact, I tend to err on the side of fewer supplements because I have got some pretty advanced training in other modalities that we can talk about another time. Okay, but the way I look at things when I'm prescribing for somebody is this corrective or is this supportive? And what do I need here? Do I need correction? Do I need support? And that depends on you and where you're at. So it's very important to understand that supplements are very rarely corrective. They're always supportive, but they're very rarely corrective. And what that means is if you remove them over time, the benefit will diminish. So that's what I mean by that. Okay. And the big thing, the big like star thing is like any other aspect of the MS game. It's all about individualization. It's about what do you need, not lists that somebody else created, right? And by the way, I've looked at all the lists out there and they're okay. They're good. They're supplements that anybody else could take too and benefit from. So that's important to know, okay? So think about that individualization bit for a second, right? So if you're 25 or if you're 35 or if you're 55 or if you're like me pushing 60, do you think those four age categories need the same supplements? Nope. And then think about what else is going on for you. Do you have gut issues? Do you have thyroid issues? Do you have blood sugar issues? Do you have, whatever else? Do you think all of those people need the same supplements? Nope. So I'm going to hammer that individualization thing pretty hard, okay? Furthermore, what do your labs tell us? What are you treating when you're taking those supplements? Basic blood work can give you so much information, what are your inflammatory markers? What are your thyroid numbers? What are your blood sugar numbers? What are your cholesterol numbers? These are all metabolic just markers, metabolic and inflammatory markers that make a big impact on the overall picture. Okay, so let's start by looking at what you want to accomplish with supplementation, okay? So first and foremost, we want to regulate that inappropriate immune response. So remember this inappropriate immune response that causes inflammation, that causes neuroinflammation and neurodegeneration and all those nasty symptoms that we all experience from time to time. So the first thing we want to do is regulate that misdirected immune response. And of course, the first thing that does that is diet. Castor oil packs are the two biggies there. But the big thing here is the gut. So I don't want you out taking immune supplements, not at all. And I don't ever want to hear words like boost or immunosuppressive, because those words don't exist in the natural health world. What you're trying to do, remember, in natural health is bring an unbalanced body back to balance, back to homeostasis. So if 75% of your immune system is being regulated through your gut, then we've got to make sure that the gut is in top-notch form, okay? And of course, this is all individualized too. Do you have diarrhea? Do you have constipation? Do you have indigestion? Do you have heartburn? Do you have gut pain? Do you have blood in your mucus, blood or mucus in your stool? All of those things will require different aspects of supplementation. Okay. So the second, actually, you know what? I want to say one more thing about that, is that if you are constipated, by the way, or have chronic diarrhea, so if you've got that irritable bowel in some way, don't even bother supplementing, because it's not the right time. You need to get those bowels regulated first. Always. Okay. So number 2 is we want to massively reduce inflammation. And, that immune function, inflammation plays itself out in the brain, right? So, and of course, you want to heal the brain. But of course, if you haven't taken care of number 1 and 2, don't even worry about wasting your money on supplements for the brain. And last but not least, you want to nourish the body. Okay, so now let's talk about what kind of supplements are quote unquote the best supplements, right? So I want you to think that everything you swallow in a capsule has to be digested by your gut, especially if you're having gut problems, and especially because people with chronic illness tend to take more than 1 or 2 supplements. We want to be aware of the packaging. And when I say packaging, I don't mean the box or bag that it comes in. I mean the encapsulation process. So those capsules themselves can be pretty toxic because, of what they're made out of, right? So you want to look for veggie caps if you're using encapsulated stuff, but also don't miss an opportunity to use powders and liquids or gel caps, things that don't require a lot of processing by the digestive system. And the bottom line, of course, is the more of the nutrients that you consume through your food, the better, right? And I get it. Sometimes you can't get a therapeutic dose of some of these things, so you've got to supplement them. So let's take a step back. Let's hear what I've been saying, okay? At the top end, we're talking about supplements do not transform anything naturally. Okay, natural medicine does not equal supplementation. At the same time, we know some level of supplementation is essential. So we want to know what you're taking and why you're taking it. We want good quality. We want to make sure it's digestible. Got it? Okay. So I don't want to discourage you. So I don't want you to think, oh, that nut job doesn't want me to take any kind of supplements, because I do. But so right now we're going to talk about some supplements that are what I call the Absolutist Essentials, because the essentials reduce inflammation in all the systems. So like they double dip for us. They're good for the gut, and they're good for the brain, and they're good for everything. Okay. So can anybody guess? Hey, there's Rivers answering my question before it's even answered. Can you guess what the first essential is? And yay, Rivers, aka Sue. It is vitamin D. Vitamin D is probably the simplest, most cost-effective vitamin with regard to MS. I'll never forget, in 1998, a double-page spread in the Globe and Mail newspaper in Toronto about vitamin D and multiple sclerosis. I just about fell off my chair. And here we are, what's that, like 25 years later? Just starting to get neurologists to even talk about vitamin D. Let me know in the chat if your neurologists have actually spoken to you about vitamin D. So if you look at, there's some great research out there. My favorite sweetie pie is Dr. Michael Hollick. And of course, in his words, an autoimmune maintenance dose is 4,000 international units, or 100 micrograms. But the most important thing is what is your vitamin D level? So I also want to see in the chat how many people know their current vitamin D level, because that is super, 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 super important. And I can't emphasize that enough. Did I say super enough? So vitamin D, and know your vitamin D level, because if you don't know your vitamin D level, you don't know how to dose it. And also, I've seen some pretty scary low vitamin D levels, like eyes popping out of my head. I can't believe they're so low. And to me, there's something else going on there. And that's typically like an inflammatory bowel disease, where the vitamin D is actually not being absorbed up through the gut, or a chronic infection. And we're going to talk about chronic infections in another discussion. But your vitamin, to me, simple. You will have to pay for it in Ontario. I don't know about the rest of the provinces, but in Ontario, it's a patient pays thing. Although I have negotiated with my family doc and said to her, "What? With all the research about vitamin D and multiple sclerosis, and you want me to pay for that?" So, you can always use that tack. But anyway, vitamin D. Gotcha. Okay, number 2 is a powerful omega-3 oil. Okay? And nice, in Nova Scotia, free vitamin D testing, Mike. Why don't we move there?
I think we should move
I think we should move there. Anyway, powerful omega-3. So omega-3 oils come from fatty fish. So mackerel, sardines, salmon, albacore tuna, so obviously the best way to get your omega-3 is through your diet. But if we're trying to get a mega anti-inflammatory dose, then we probably want to supplement. What's a mega anti-inflammatory dose? I would say, fish oil, or omega-3 oil, is broken down into 2 constituents. One is EPA, and I won't even say the name for you because it's so long it'll freak you out. And the other one is DHA. EPA is the anti-inflammatory component. DHA is the cognitive component. So yes, I fluctuate with patients depending on what their need is as to whether we're having a high DHA or a high EPA. The EPA component minimum of 1,200 milligrams per dose, whatever that dose is. And if it's 1,200 milligrams, for example, per teaspoon, then that teaspoon is a minimum. And if you're in like a crazy inflamed state, then probably a tablespoon, right? If we're getting things under control, then probably a tablespoon. Okay. I have been chewing on my omega-3 all week, like just had it open in front of me because of this shoulder thing that I've been dealing with now for a few weeks. So that's something you can easily add up or add down. Oh, and a little tidbit of information. If you're one of those people that burp up fish oil, first of all, that's a piece of information about your digestion, and your naturopath or nutritionist, whoever you work with, needs to know that. But put your fish oil in the freezer, and that seems to reduce that burping upness. Okay, so we've got vitamin D, we've got fish oil. Number 3, any guesses here? I know you guys are keen. Anyway, spoiler alert, probiotic. Okay, so the whole microbiome, the gut, probiotics have been huge over the last decade. It's another thing. So we probably have more questions than answers when it comes to probiotics. I looked at Ashton Embry's list, and they recommend 6 to 9 capsules a day. That's a very expensive habit. You know, that's a very, very expensive one. So, you know, I wax and wane with probiotics. My general recommendation is a capsule twice a day. But if there's other stuff going on, if you're suffering with gas or bloating, you can definitely play with that and go like 2 capsules 2 or 3 times a day, but really play with the probiotics to find your sweet spot. But don't mask a digestive issue by taking more probiotics. Do you see what I mean? Excellent. Okay. My next one on the list is, are you ready for this? Methylcobalamin and methyl tetrahydrofolate. So big, long, fancy pants word name for B12. And once again, B12 is something you've really got to understand your blood levels. And you've got to understand them from 2 perspectives. Because what's considered normal from your family doc is, in Ontario anyway, it's kind of between 250 and maybe 650 depending on the lab, right? So to me, those numbers are completely inadequate. And from a functional medicine perspective, you don't want to see it any less than 1,000. 1,000 will freak your family doctor right out and say, oh my God, your B12's high. But not me. That's where I want to hear it. And cobalamin is, remember I said methylcobalamin? So cobalamin is the scientific word for B12. And there are 3 cofactors. There's cyanocobalamin, which might help you if you have anemia, but nothing else. There's hydroxycobalamin, which is metabolically active, so it's not a bad one. And there's methylcobalamin, and methylcobalamin is neurologically active. And then methyl tetrahydrofolate is just the neurologically active form of folic acid. Okay. So once again, it's all about knowing your B12 numbers. And once again, why are the B12 levels so low? And that can be that can also be a digestive thing. And there's another blood marker that we can use to sort of get a handle on your methylation processes, and that's called homocysteine. And homocysteine is also a patient pays thing in Ontario, but it's probably free in Nova Scotia. Hey, Mike, do you want to move to Nova Scotia?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. We'll talk to you later, Christopher. We've got news. Anyway, and the last one of the essentials, and this is not even all the time, is a multivitamin and mineral. And I don't mean a Jameson or a Kirkland or like some bargain basement multivitamin. I mean, something that's got a good high dose, maybe B50 or B100 complex in there, because those B vitamins are so important in every metabolic process. And then, of course, our minerals that we just don't get enough of these days with soil the way it is. So those are the essentials: vitamin D, fish oil, probiotic, B12, and multivitamin mineral. And oh, by the way, if you are taking a multi, then you can always get your B12 in that. So that doubles things up, and I'm a big fan of that, like getting a lot of bang for your buck. Anyway, let's talk about more multi-purpose supplements now, and that would benefit people with MS. And we'll talk a little bit about why. My personal favorite, and I got a big old bottle of it over there, and it's so good for so many things, is N-Acetylcysteine, or NAC. And NAC does a lot of things. So it's my favorite immune modulator. It increases the glutathione production in the liver. Glutathione is the mother or the master antioxidant in the body. And of course, antioxidants are really an important part of any strategy. I'm going to say a little bit more about antioxidants in a moment, but NAC is really a great thing. If you take Tylenol, and if you do, we need to talk. But I shouldn't say that. You know what? In all fairness, I took a couple of Tylenols last week with this shoulder thing, and I took some extra NAC. So NAC is what they use in Tylenol overdose, so in Tylenol poisoning. So it just builds that glutathione in the liver to the level that it can actually neutralize. Sue has just made an incredibly important comment here, and that is that she gets an IV glutathione, and I absolutely support that. It's a little bit more expensive for some people. I used to give myself IV glutathione, and I used to use them in the clinic before we had all kinds of certification shenanigans about IV therapy. But if my logic behind it was that if our medical colleagues gauge the progression of MS by the number and the severity of a relapse, then my job was to nail that relapse before it hit anybody else's radar screen. And I was able to do that with glutathione. And I would encourage people to have 3 of them within a week, but usually the first one nailed it. So that's how important glutathione is. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate your bringing that up. Okay, so NAC, that's NAC, N-Acetylcysteine. Now, another supplement that also increases glutathione in the liver, but not as much, is alpha lipoic acid. So, and alpha lipoic acid has a lot of other benefits. So, alpha lipoic acid is also a master antioxidant. It is also a great blood sugar regulator. So if you have diabetes, or you are have just blood sugar dyscrasia or up and down, then you could probably consider that over the NAC. Another one of my favorite sort of all-purpose supplements that would be encouraged encouraged for people with MS is EGCG, which is an active constituent in green tea. So EGCG, and drink lots of green tea. Okay, I just want to read here. Christopher's made a comment. Alpha lipoic acid was recommended by my neuro. Say that is something. Said there are studies that show it reduces brain atrophy in MS patients. There you go. There you go. So that's, remember, why, right? Probably the antioxidant, anti-inflammatory effects of it. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Christopher. And I have two more here on my multi-purpose supplement list. And it's not, this isn't it. I mean, there's, like I said, there's an industry out there ready to sell you millions of supplements for MS. I'm not interested in anything for MS. I'm interested in things for you. A greens powder. And I say a greens powder because a lot of people have a problem getting the number of vegetables into them that I'd like to see in them. And even if I'm having a stupid busy week or something, I will default to a greens powder. So just throw a scoop in a glass of water, pop it back once a day, and Bob's your uncle. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of mushrooms. So reishi mushrooms are a great immune modulator. And you know what? The reishi mushroom, when I think of reishi, I think of traditional Chinese medicine, which of course I'm trained in. And I think of just the overall benefits. Like it's not just this or just that. It just has an overall good effect on the body. So we eat a lot of reishi mushrooms. They're readily available in grocery stores now. I have dried reishi mushrooms that I put in every pot of bone broth that I make. You can probably get a reishi tea, but that's a good anti-inflammatory immunomodulator. So there's 4 or 5 for you. There's more. I'm going to get Mike to be scanning here to make sure that we address all your questions, because I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions. And then we get down to sort of special areas, right? So when it comes to these special areas, and maybe I've just been a doctor too long and I've lost my sense of courage, but when it comes to especially the digestive system, because remember, that's the epicenter of MS. And I mean, if you nail that, you're going to save yourself thousands of dollars in supplements, right? But like if you're dealing with this kind of stuff, get some help, you know, and it's not shameless self-promotion. I'm just telling you, get some help, right? So the gut, super important. If you have, if after having changed your diet and using the castor oil packs regularly, you still have digestive distress. Once again, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn, nausea, any of those things, then you probably need to do a little bit more work in the area of the gut. And you know, constipation is just so prevalent in the MS world. So, you know, if it's still there after the castor oil and the dietary change, it's probably a central nervous system thing or a vagus nerve thing. But you probably want to use this fiber supplement to get things going. Teas that soothe the gut are like marshmallow, licorice, fennel, and you know, you can get some great fiber supplements that also have some of those soothing herbs in them. So you're actually getting a little healing combination there. And you know, digestive enzymes. And I'm going to say it out loud. When I was a new naturopath, I was such an idealist and such a purist. I thought, I am never going to prescribed digestive enzymes. Well, here I am 20 years later saying, you know what, there are just people that need digestive enzymes, especially blood type A people, because blood type A people have a more vulnerable digestive system. So, you know, a big meal, a late meal, all of that can wreak havoc with actually not just A, B, and B as well. It's blood type O that can eat, you know, everything in the kitchen sink. In fact, it's blood type O people that often tell me, no, there's nothing wrong with my gut. But remember what we've learned about the gut. If you have an autoimmune disease, then there is something wrong with your gut. Blood type O's just don't notice it because they've got that robust digestive function. Did I go all over the place there? I hope not. And then finally, of course, we want to talk about the brain. And, you know, once again, if you've done everything well up until now, hopefully you won't need to do too much with the brain. But some of my favorites for the brain are turmeric. Turmeric is huge. Actually, turmeric is like, is there anything that turmeric doesn't do? Like, it's anti-inflammatory, it's an antioxidant, you know, it's good for pain, it's good for cognition, it's good for the gut, it's good for absolutely everything. And it's a really simple and great supplement for brain cognitive function. And one of my favorites for the brain is just is Bacopa. It's an old Ayurvedic herb. I love it to pieces. I use it myself on and off. Like the last time I ordered from my supplier, I bought myself 2 bottles. I'll go through those 2 bottles and then I won't take anything for a while again. Ginkgo is another great one. Mandy says her husband puts turmeric in everything. Absolutely. Eat your turmeric, you know, get good quality organic turmeric and put it in everything. We literally put it in everything, right? And when Mike's cooking, because Mike does a lot of the cooking, I'll say, did you put any turmeric in that? And it doesn't impart any kind of nasty flavor. And it's a great way to get, you know, to really crank up the turmeric intake. Sorry, I got distracted and excited there. And then I told you that I like my mushrooms. So, of course, a great brain mushroom is lion's mane. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there taking lion's mane right now because it happens to be a health food store sweetheart right now. And I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but it's true. You know, I've seen things come and go over the years, and it's like, okay, we just have to wait for this one to blow over, or, you know, because everybody thinks that they need to take whatever the latest sweetheart is in the health food stores. So, in summary, and I'm going to answer some of these wonderful questions because I see a lot of them here. Supplements are one modality. They are rarely corrective. They are mostly supportive, which means their benefit dwindles after you stop taking them. Aside from the essentials that we discussed, any other supplements should be taken specific to what is going on for you in your life, in your particular health state, in your age bracket. So all of these things make a difference as to supplementation. And high quality professional supplements are essential, okay? Remember, supplements do not equal natural healing. No, supplements, where is it? What did we say supplements are? What was the definition? Are something that completes or enhances something else, okay? And remember, it's not one thing, it's not 2 things, it's not even 3 things, it's everything you do. So it is the diet, it is the mind-body, it is the exercise, it is the self-care, and it is the supplementation, okay? So let's take a look at all of these lovely questions. Is okay. There's that. Neuro's talking to people about vitamin D. Love it. Kirsten, you brought it up with your neuro. Good for you. And these are the things you should be bringing up with your neurologist. If your neurologist hasn't asked you to have your vitamin D tested, you need to ask them about it, right? Excellent. We've got more people. I get my levels checked twice a year. Christopher, awesome. Has for years. Excellent. I'm always low, even at 8,000 international units. Gotcha. Okay. So if you're always low and you're still taking large doses of vitamin D, the question is why? Because if you're supplementing large doses, it should be bringing your numbers up into a normal range. Okay. Probiotics. Excellent. B12 getting IV. Okay. Is there a concern if B12 is too high on blood count, a reading of 1450? Like I said, I like to see B12 around 1,000. So 1450 might be a little bit high. Maybe if you're supplementing, cut it back a little bit. How do you know if you're choosing a quality supplement? Really, really, really good question, Angela, especially nowadays, right? I would say stick to professional brands. And there are a lot more professional brands available now in the health food store because, of course, that's a market they don't want to miss. In the regular health food store, I'm not sure where you're from, Angela, and I want to direct this to everybody too. In Canada, there are some good health food store brands. My personal favorite is Natural Factors, but you can also get the professional brand Genestra, which is available in the United States and Canada in health food stores. I think Cytomatrix is also available in health food stores, but ask for the highest quality they've got. What's the first step in fixing the gut? Well, Lorraine, the first step, it's an excellent question. And the first step in fixing the gut, I'm assuming you're saying after you've already fixed your diet and have been using castor oil packs nightly, because those are really the first two steps in fixing the gut. After that, it depends what it is. If there is any blood or mucus in anybody's stool at any time, then you need to see a professional, period, full stop. Don't mess around with that. If it's indigestion, some of the things that I mentioned, try some digestive enzymes. Use some marshmallow tea, some licorice tea, some fennel tea. A lot of places you can get a digestive blend. Actually, even some digestive combination essential oils. Put 4 or 5 drops of that right on your castor oil pack. Put that on your abdomen, and that castor oil is going to draw those essential oils right into your gut. I don't have it. Excellent. Jacinta, what a pretty name. What's the previous herb you recommended? Okay, so which herbs? So I was talking about brain herbs, Jacinta, and I mentioned Bacopa, which is a beautiful brain tonic. It's an Ayurvedic herb. I have no problem recommending it because you can't really go wrong with it. Another one was Ginkgo Biloba. Ginkgo Biloba actually increases the circulation to the brain. So I think of that one, especially if there's a lot of cog fog. I'm sorry, you come up just as Facebook user asking me what greens powder I use. As an ND, I do have a professional brand that I use. I use a custom compounder out of Nova Scotia, yay, Nova Scotia, for a lot of my professional products, and they have a greens powder that I like. Good old Greens Plus. There's a Greens Plus Multi Plus. That is a Greens Plus powder with a multi-B vitamin in it. Progressive has some good greens powder. You want to know something? On the weekend when we were in Costco, and I have run out of my professional brand, I actually took the time to read the label on the Costco greens, and it's a good product, and I actually bought a tub of it. So I don't always concur with the Costco brands, but it seemed to be a good one. Opinion on zinc and vitamin C, yeah, great. They're great antioxidants, right? So you're not going to go wrong with them. Are they absolutely essential? No. Are they great to be taking during COVID? Yeah, for sure. Okay. Actually, I just picked up this, and this is something that I created for my patients. A long time ago, 25 years ago, under the tutelage of Dr. David Perlmutter, who is a board-certified neurologist. And if you haven't looked up Dr. Perlmutter, please do. He's a kind and gentle soul. And let me just read you what I've got in here. So I've got ECGC, I've got phosphatidylserine, I've got grapeseed extract, I've got R-lipoic acid, so lipoic acid, and NAC. I'm an overachiever. CoQ10, acetyl L-carnitine, Ginkgo Biloba, P5P, vitamin B1, turmeric, and folic acid. So that is my super killer. It's called brain reform. All right. Okay, so there's what dosage? There you go. Magnesium. You know what, Dawn? That's a really good question. Magnesium is actually one of those underestimated supplements. And absolutely, we are wildly, as a culture, magnesium deficient. So there are a lot of different types of magnesium. If you suffer with constipation, some good old-fashioned magnesium oxide will help those bowels move, as well as calm things down. So that's what magnesium does. It calms things down. There is a powdered drink out there on the market called Nature Calm, and that is a powdered magnesium. And to have a cup of that before you go to bed can take the edge off, can help the bowels move. I'm a big fan of magnesium bisglycinate or magnesium glycinate because the magnesium molecule is matched with a glycine molecule, and glycine is an amino acid that's very calming and soothing too. So it just amplifies that relaxing nature of the magnesium. But for sure, that was a great question, Dawn. Thank you. Tracy saying, I hear lots of suggestions of magnesium. Okay, yeah, that's what we just talked about. When you said you're chewing on omega-3 daily, in what form do you mean? That's a really good question, Mandy, because I made that sound absolutely gross. I just swallow capsules. I'm a wimp when it comes to fish oil. I admit it. So I don't actually chew on them. I swallow them. But this is the size of a fish oil capsule. That's crazy. I can swallow anything, but not everybody can. And Mike prefers the oil right out of the bottle. So he just clugs it right out of the bottle. Okay. Angela's in Ontario. Great. So that was relevant to you. Sue, aka Rivers, say, I feel guilty these Wednesdays are free because I know that your sessions cost. You're worth every penny for your knowledge. Just had to put that out there. Well, thank you, darling. I want you all to know as much as I can tell you, right? I feel like that's not a dog. That's my cat.
He's a little overweight.
He's a little overweight, I guess. Okay.
It brings up a good point, though, Terry, that a lot of people have reached out to work with you one-on-one, and your schedule is like
Yeah.
becoming overfilled and you're making extra spots.
Right. Okay.
So, talk about that.
Okay. So Mike is pushing me to talk to you about something that I've been working on. I think I've dropped a hint here and there, and that is many of you have reached out to work with me, and honestly, that's not why I did this. I didn't do this to make myself busier. I did this to connect with y'all and to have a little bit of fun myself.
Maybe less busy, honestly.
Yeah, to be less busy, actually. So what Mike and I have been doing is working on an environment where we can work together, where I can actually make some recommendations that I can understand your personalized, individualized story and go from there. So we're still working on it, but it's going to be a sort of a program of sorts that you can go through, that we can go through together, and then you can keep working on it for life, basically.
It's an immersion.
Yeah, it's an immersion, right? We dive deeply for a number of weeks. We're trying to figure out how many weeks that's going to be, and we do some fixing up and moving forward. So if you're interested in that when it comes, I will certainly tell you guys first, for sure, because it's going to be a small group only. So I will offer it to the group first, and before we go outside the group. Okay.
More information does not create change.
That's right. There we go. You see, it's a cat.
Oh, you just want to be on camera.
A fussy cat. Magnesium reduces spasticity in my legs. And for my father-in-law who has Parkinson's, absolutely, Christopher, that's a great point. That's the calming effect, right? So think of a spasm is literally this, right? It's the central nervous system going, ah! So it's reducing that spasticity. Okay. And magnesium at night or day, and how many? Yeah, Brenda, that's a great question. I take magnesium any old time of day. Some people who have problems sleeping will take it in the evening because of that calming effect of it. And how much? You'll know your right dose because it will move your bowels. So even the bisglycinate, even what's supposed to be the gentler on the bowel formula, will move your bowels eventually. So we call that to bowel tolerance. So for some people that's 200 milligrams, for some people that's 400 milligrams, for some people that's 1,000 milligrams. So you just have to you have to just play with that. And Rita's asking what type of magnesium reduces spasticity. Any of them. But once again, my preferred one would be magnesium bisglycinate, or it's also just called magnesium glycinate. Okay, and that's the end of the list of questions. So I'm glad we got through them all. What time is it? Oh my God, it's so late. I'm sorry. I just wanted to tell you, I don't know, I shouldn't, I don't always want to do this because I want to be able to think of it as it comes up, like what we're going to talk about next week. But I've had a very interesting week. I'm actually officially off this week, but I've got some interesting patients that I'm been working with on trauma and emotional aspects of their chronic illness. And it's really a roadblock in healing, isn't it? And so I think next week, we've already talked about the power of the mind. I think we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that, and we're going to talk about specifically meditation and MS, because there's a lot of actual research that's been done. And I know from the feedback you've been giving me that it's still, I mean, I've been meditating for decades, so it's nothing new to me, but it is something new to a lot of you. So next week, we're going to talk about meditation for MS, for MS in general, because the research is there, right? And what I'm going to do is, just like when we did the power of a mind and I did that breath work exercise, I'm going to write a meditation for us for next week. So Thank you for hanging around so late tonight. I'm sorry to keep you. I didn't realize we had been at this for a whole hour. But important subject, right? Supplements. So let's all have a nice evening. And I'll get some of the key points from tonight up in the group during the week. And don't forget to be sharing in the group. And don't forget to be asking questions. And I'm sure I'll probably hear some more questions, lots of thank yous. You're welcome. Okay? Have a great night. Bye.